Painting the exterior of a panel box can indeed void its UL listing. The UL, or Underwriter's Laboratory listing, is a safety certification. This certification assures that the equipment meets specific required safety standards. When you paint a panel box, you might alter the materials and their properties. This alteration can potentially compromise the safety testing that the box has already undergone and been certified for. According to UL website, they do not list or certify products that have been altered in any way because this alteration may affect the safety of the product. This includes things such as painting, powder coating, or any other kind of modification to the exterior of the product. The integrity of the original UL listing depends on the product remaining in its originally tested and certified condition. Any modification, including painting, introduces an uncontrolled variable that could affect the product's performance under normal or fault conditions. For example, the paint could affect the heat dissipation properties of the enclosure, potentially leading to overheating. It is important to maintain the original UL listing to ensure the continued safety and compliance of the electrical panel. Modifying the panel could also have implications for insurance coverage or compliance with local electrical codes. The UL listing mark indicates that the product has been evaluated to relevant safety standards. These standards cover a wide range of potential hazards, including fire, electric shock, and mechanical hazards. When a product is modified, it is no longer certain that it continues to comply with these standards. The paint itself could be a fire hazard. Certain paints might be more flammable than the original coating on the panel box. If a fault occurs within the panel box, the paint could ignite and contribute to a fire. Some paints could also create an insulating layer that prevents proper grounding. Grounding is a critical safety feature that provides a path for fault current to flow back to the source, tripping a circuit breaker or fuse and energizing the circuit. If the paint interferes with grounding, it could increase the risk of electric shock. The paint could react with the metal of the panel box, causing corrosion or other forms of degradation. This could weaken the enclosure and make it more susceptible to damage from physical impact or environmental factors. If the panel box is located in a damp or corrosive environment, the paint could accelerate the corrosion process. If the panel box is used in an industrial setting, the paint could be incompatible with chemicals or other substances present in the environment. This could lead to the paint breaking down or releasing harmful fumes. Modifying a UL-listed product can also have legal implications. If someone is injured or property is damaged as a result of a failure of the modified product, the modifier could be held liable. Electrical inspectors typically look for the UL listing mark to verify that electrical equipment has been properly evaluated and certified. If the panel box has been painted, the inspector may reject it and require it to be replaced. Insurance companies may also deny coverage if a loss is caused by a modified electrical panel. UL standards are developed through a consensus process that involves manufacturers, regulators, and other stakeholders. These standards are regularly updated to reflect new technologies and safety concerns. The UL listing mark is widely recognized and respected as a symbol of safety and quality. When choosing electrical equipment, it is always best to select products that are UL listed. If you are considering modifying a UL listed product, it is important to consult with a qualified electrical engineer or other expert to determine whether the modification is safe and will not void the UL listing. There are specific UL standards that apply to panel boxes, and these standards address a wide range of safety concerns. These standards cover the materials used in the construction of the panel box, the design of the enclosure, and the performance of the panel box under various conditions. The UL listing process involves rigorous testing and evaluation to ensure that the panel box meets these standards. The panel box is subjected to tests to verify its resistance to fire, electric shock, and mechanical hazards. The panel box is also evaluated to ensure that it is properly grounded and that it can safely dissipate heat. The UL listing mark on a panel box indicates that the product has passed these tests and meets the requirements of the applicable UL standards. It is important to note that the UL listing only applies to the panel box in its original condition. Any modifications to the panel box, including painting, can void the UL listing. If you need to modify a panel box, it is important to consult with a qualified electrical engineer or other expert to determine whether the modification is safe and will not void the UL listing. There may be alternative solutions that do not involve modifying the panel box, such as replacing the panel box with one that meets your specific needs. Maintaining the integrity of the UL listing is essential for ensuring the safety of electrical equipment and protecting people and property from potential hazards. Always follow the manufacturer's instructions and consult with qualified professionals when working with electrical equipment. There may be situations where painting the interior of a panel box can affect the UL listing as well. Although the initial question refers to the exterior of the box, considering the interior is important for a comprehensive understanding. The same principles apply. Any alteration to the original design and construction of the panel box can compromise its safety certification. Paints used on the interior could have insulating properties that affect heat dissipation or create conductive paths that could lead to short circuits. Additionally, certain paints might emit volatile organic compounds, or VOCs, that could react with the electrical components inside the panel box. These reactions could cause corrosion or degradation of the components, leading to premature failure or even hazardous conditions. The UL listing process involves evaluating the entire panel box, including both the exterior and interior, to ensure that it meets the required safety standards. Therefore, any modification to either the exterior or interior can void the UL listing. There are exceptions to this rule. For example, some manufacturers may offer panel boxes with a special coating or paint that is specifically designed for use on electrical equipment and that has been tested and certified by UL. In these cases, painting the panel box with the approved coating or paint may not void the UL listing. It is important to consult with the manufacturer or a qualified electrical engineer to determine whether a particular coating or paint is approved for use on a specific panel box. When dealing with electrical equipment, it is always best to err on the side of caution and avoid any modifications that could compromise its safety or void its UL listing. If you are unsure whether a particular modification is safe, consult with a qualified electrical engineer or other expert. Safety should always be the top priority when working with electrical equipment. One aspect that is important to understand about UL listing is that it is not a one-time event. Manufacturers of electrical equipment must undergo periodic audits and re-evaluations to ensure that their products continue to meet the required safety standards. This ongoing process helps to ensure that UL-listed products remain safe and reliable throughout their service life. If a manufacturer makes changes to the design or construction of a UL-listed product, they must submit the product for re-evaluation to ensure that the changes do not compromise its safety. This re-evaluation process may involve additional testing and analysis to verify that the modified product still meets the requirements of the applicable UL standard. The UL listing mark is a valuable tool for consumers and electrical professionals. It provides assurance that the product has been independently tested and certified to meet recognized safety standards. When selecting electrical equipment, always look for the UL listing mark to ensure that you are choosing a safe and reliable product. If you have any questions about the UL listing of a particular product, you can contact UL directly or visit their website for more information. Understanding the importance of maintaining the UL listing of electrical equipment is critical for ensuring the safety of electrical systems. Avoid making any modifications that could compromise the safety or void the UL listing of electrical equipment. Consulting with qualified professionals when working with electrical equipment is always recommended to ensure that all work is performed safely and in accordance with applicable codes and standards. In addition to the potential safety hazards, modifying a panel box can also affect its compliance with local electrical codes. Most jurisdictions have adopted the National Electrical Code, or NEC, which sets forth minimum safety standards for electrical installations. The NEC requires that all electrical equipment be listed or labeled by a recognized testing laboratory, such as UL. This requirement helps to ensure that electrical equipment has been properly evaluated and certified to meet the applicable safety standards. If a panel box has been modified, it may no longer comply with the NEC and it could be rejected by an electrical inspector. This could result in delays and additional expenses for the homeowner or contractor. It is important to be aware of the local electrical codes and regulations before making any modifications to a panel box. In some cases, it may be possible to obtain a variance from the local electrical inspector to allow a modification to be made. However, this typically requires submitting detailed plans and documentation to demonstrate that the modification will not compromise the safety of the electrical system. It is always best to consult with the local electrical inspector before making any modifications to a panel box to ensure that the work will comply with all applicable codes and regulations. When considering the painting of a panel box, it's also important to address the implications for warranty coverage. Most manufacturers of electrical equipment offer warranties that cover defects in materials and workmanship. However, these warranties typically exclude damage or failures that are caused by modifications to the product. If a panel box has been painted, the manufacturer may void the warranty, leaving the owner responsible for any repair or replacement costs. It is important to review the warranty terms and conditions before making any modifications to a panel box. If you have any questions about the warranty coverage, you can contact the manufacturer directly. There are alternative ways to improve the appearance of a panel box without painting it. For example, you could install a decorative cover over the panel box. These covers are available in a variety of styles and materials, and they can be easily installed without modifying the panel box. Another option is to relocate the panel box to a less conspicuous location. This may involve some additional wiring and electrical work, but it can be a good solution if you want to completely hide the panel box. When working with electricity, safety should always be the top priority. If you are not comfortable working with electrical equipment, it is best to hire a qualified electrician to do the work. A qualified electrician has the knowledge and experience to safely and properly install and maintain electrical systems. Attempting to perform electrical work without the proper training and experience can be dangerous and can lead to serious injury or even death. It is also important to use the proper tools and equipment when working with electricity. Always use insulated tools and wear appropriate personal protective equipment, such as safety glasses and gloves. Be sure to energize the circuit before working on any electrical equipment. This can be done by turning off the circuit breaker or removing the fuse that supplies power to the circuit. Use a voltage tester to verify that the circuit is de-energized before beginning work. Remember that electricity can be dangerous, and it is important to take all necessary precautions to protect yourself and others. If you have any doubts about your ability to safely perform electrical work, it is best to hire a qualified electrician. They can also help you determine if painting the panel box is appropriate, or recommend alternative solutions while keeping safety and code compliance paramount. Consider the environment where the panel box is located. For instance, in coastal areas, the salt air can accelerate corrosion. Painting a panel box in such an environment might seem like a good idea to provide an extra layer of protection. However, if the paint is not specifically designed for this purpose, it could actually trap moisture and accelerate corrosion. The best approach in corrosive environments is to use panel boxes that are specifically designed for those conditions. These panel boxes are typically made from corrosion-resistant materials such as stainless steel or aluminum. They may also have special coatings or finishes that provide additional protection against corrosion. Also consider the temperature. High temperature environments can cause certain paints to break down or emit harmful fumes. The type of paint used is also important. Oil-based paints are generally more durable and resistant to moisture than water-based paints. However, they may also be more flammable and could pose a fire hazard. Latex paints are less flammable but may not be as durable. Epoxy paints are very durable and resistant to chemicals, but they can be more difficult to apply. Before painting a panel box, it is important to prepare the surface properly. This may involve cleaning the surface to remove any dirt, grease, or rust. It may also be necessary to sand the surface to create a smooth, even finish. Be sure to use a primer before painting the panel box. A primer will help the paint adhere better to the surface and will provide additional protection against corrosion. When painting a panel box, apply several thin coats of paint rather than one thick coat. This will help to prevent drips and runs and will result in a more even finish. It is also important to allow each coat of paint to dry completely before applying the next coat. After painting the panel box, allow the paint to cure completely before putting the panel box back into service. This may take several days or even weeks depending on the type of paint used. The paint is not just for aesthetics, it may be for labels. Electrical panel boxes often have labels that provide important information about the circuits inside. These labels may include the circuit number, the type of load served, and the amperage rating of the circuit breaker. Painting over these labels can make it difficult to identify the circuits and can create a safety hazard. If you paint over the labels on a panel box, be sure to replace them with new labels that are clearly visible and legible. There are several different types of labels that can be used for electrical panel boxes. Some labels are made of paper and are designed to be written on with a pen or marker. Other labels are made of plastic and are designed to be printed on with a label maker. Choose labels that are durable and easy to read. Affix the labels securely to the panel box so that they will not fall off. It is a good idea to create a circuit directory that lists all of the circuits in the panel box. This directory should include the circuit number, the type of load served, and the location of the load. Keep the circuit directory in a safe place where it can be easily accessed. The directory is important to have during emergencies. In addition to the NEC, there may be other applicable codes and standards that govern the installation and maintenance of electrical systems. These codes and standards may be adopted by local jurisdictions or by industry organizations. It is important to be aware of all applicable codes and standards before working on any electrical system. Codes and standards are not static documents. They are regularly updated to reflect new technologies and safety concerns. It is important to stay up to date on the latest changes to the codes and standards. This can be done by attending training courses, reading industry publications, and consulting with qualified professionals. Working with electricity can be dangerous, and it is important to take all necessary precautions to protect yourself and others.